Hey guys, so off the back of Tom's video the other day, I thought I would do a little bit more on the 1210, just because I have one here in front of me, and there are a couple of bits which is much easier to show you with the actual unit. So first off, I'm going to assume that you haven't seen Tom's video. Sorry, Tom. So I'm just going to talk through all the features on it, and then we'll go into setting it up, and then I might talk you through the differences between the different models. All of the old 1210s like this one, they all have wires which are attached inside, which includes the 13 amp plug and the phono and the ground lead. So when you get it out of the box, it'll all have like a load of trailing cables, and this is actually the main reason that they can be broken, is because all the cables are attached, so they get yanked on and stuff. So what you'll find is you'll have a pair of phono jacks and some sort of earth cable. This one is just like a piece of wire with a bare end on it. The only thing I don't have here is a mixer, so I can't plug it into a mixer, but I can. What I've actually got is a little phono preamp. We'll talk a little bit about why you need one of these in a minute, and I hopefully I'll be able to show you. But just for now, we're just going to plug it all together. So in the back of your DJ mixer, there'll be a phono input, and there'll also be like one of these like locking screw pins for the earth bond. It'll probably say ground or GND or something on it. So I'm just going to plug all this together. Cool, there we go. It's all just like plugged in together. Sorry, this camera's not very well focused. But as I said, for you, it'll probably be running through a mixer rather than a little box like this. And then this left-right out on mine just goes straight into the M32, which is over here. Yeah, so looking at some of the features on the 1210, I'm just going to like talk around the whole unit. Got a cat somewhere. So obviously I've got the on-off switch over here. Pretty self-explanatory. It's got a light on the inside of it. We'll talk about that in a sec. You've got a start-stop button, so when it's on, you hit start spinning, hit stop, and it breaks. And then you've got these two speed ones down here. So you've got 33 RPM and 45 RPM, and that is for different size of vinyls. 33 is for most of the large LP vinyls that you find, barring a few which have been cut at 45 speed. And then you've got 45, which is, as I said, in general, the smaller ones, the 6-inch vinyls, but not exclusively, because sometimes you get 12-inch ones. Then you've got a light, which is so that you can see where you're putting the needle in the dark. Over on this side, we've got a speed slider. This changes or pitch adjusts, but basically it just changes the speed of the pattern. And this is so that you can mix vinyls together. Fairly easy, self-explanatory. Just a point to note, which I'll bring up again later, is that these ones have got clicky bits in the middle, because it's certain models have and certain models don't, but you can see it when it's at 0 speed, correct speed, there's a light that turns on. And then we have the Tonearm over on this side, and this whole assembly is a whole thing. So let's crack into that, shall we? So first off, you've got the cartridge here. I'm just going to change camera angle. So yeah, this is the cartridge that I've got on my 1210. You generally see two different types. You've got this one where you've got like a holder and then like the needle as a separate piece, and you can replace that. And then you've got the ones in the Union, which are like a big assembly, and they're like Autoform, Concord, Club Classic or Club Pro or something. And then on the other end of the needle, Harry Potter noises in the background, you can see these 4 wires coming out of it. In ours, you don't actually ever see these wires, but you can see that they come out of the back of the needle and then they go into this contact on the end here. And I'm not sure you're going to be able to see on camera, so I can hardly see. In the back, you can just see the little R. So you can see that the left and right come out on the white and the red, and then the blue and the green are the earths for each side. And if I just turn the desk up a sec, now that everything's on, now that the whole 1210's on and the needle's not in, you'll hear that there's like a buzz. We'll look at that in a sec. So yeah, so this is the rest of the tone arm. So if you look down the tone arm there, you can see there's like 4 contacts inside the tone arm as well, and then it's got these like these little screw like lines top and bottom. And basically, when you attach the needle to this arm, this spinny roundy bit here, drags the needle in and makes sure that the things getting in and out of focus. Make sure that these contacts contact with those contacts in there. Cool, yeah. So then at the back of the tone arm here, you've got a weight, and then you've got the assembly that holds the tone arm up, which has some other bits on it, which we'll quickly look at. So first thing, most of our 1210s still have them. There's this little locking assembly here which stops the arm from moving when you put them in the box. Put this on. I see some people put tape around it, which I don't do, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, because when it's shaking around in the box, this can come undone and then it can all go out. Also, never put it back in the box with the needle on. The needle always comes off before it goes in the box, because you wouldn't know how many I've come and they've been the needle like scratching across like the slip mat, and it's all gross. So yeah, in the back here we've got this height adjust, and it's this big wheel at the back, which is locked and unlocked by this little arm here, this little bit here. So you can see it twists and that lifts the arm up and down. And then this is the anti-skate. The anti-skate is there to make sure that the needle stays in the right place on the vinyl. So as the vinyl's spinning around, the needle is slowly tracking towards the center of the vinyl. And the anti-skate is putting a slight force to hold it in that correct movement. So you want the needle to be slowly moving towards the center of the vinyl of its own accord. So otherwise it's like rubbing on the outside of the grooves that it's traveling on. So this feature, because a lot of our tone arms are slightly bent, this doesn't always work as well as it should. There is a blank vinyl which should be stored in the duty manager's office, which has got Scream in for the kill on the other side of it. But the blank side of it's really good for checking the anti-skate, because what you can do is put the needle on it, and because there's no grooves to drag it to the center, you can really like dial this in and make sure it's right. And what you actually want is the needle to be ever so slowly moving towards the center. If it's too much, you end up with the needle, like when you bounce the bounce 1210, which always ends up happening because it's a club night, it will jump in, and if it's too little, it will jump out when it gets knocked. Yeah, and from what I was saying earlier, there's the little lock behind here, and then this wheel, and you can see that I'm changing the height of it. What you actually want is the tone arm to be basically level with the vinyl. The reason there's so much adjustment is Technics used to ship like a big chunky bit of rubber, like nearly that thick, that sits on top of this. And then you'd obviously need to adjust the arm up. So you want to make sure that the tone arm is basically level. And then when you've got that, you lock it off. Lock's kind of broken on this one. You'll also have seen me use this little arm here, and what that does is it allows you to raise and lower the tone arm gently without dumping it on the vinyl. Most DJs won't do this, they'll just use a little arm on it, but you know, I'm not a DJ. And the needle is obviously very delicate, so you don't want to like smash it down. Right. Last thing. So when this arm is down and the needle is sitting on the vinyl, you want to just like test the weight of the head of it. And this is so that you can change the amount of weight that is pressing on the vinyl. Too much and you can damage the vinyl, and especially some of the DJs who come through with like dub plates and stuff like that, which are like cut very badly, I'll say. The heavy needle can actually damage the vinyl itself. On like pre-cut vinyls like this, it's unlikely to do too much damage, but yeah, on some of those like more delicate ones it might. And if it's too light, well, every time the 1210's knocked, the needle will bounce. So there's a happy medium there somewhere. So this one's really something that you'll have to try and get a feel for yourself. And if I'm honest, every DJ that will come in will probably change it themselves. I know for a fact that DJ Marky, you'll see a video or a picture of him like scratching a 1210 like over his shoulder above his head upside down, and what he does is he just like wedges a fag packet underneath the end here so it holds the needle down, but obviously that's not particularly recommended. But yeah, you can just change the weight of the needle by twisting it. Then there's a fine adjuster on the front. As I said, for this, what you probably want to do for sound check is get it to a weight so it's sitting on the vinyl without bouncing. Right, so let's quickly talk about these little dots on the edge of the vinyl, because they are not there just for show. This light is not just the light that's on, it's strobing, and basically the reason it's there is to help you mix correctly. So if we start the vinyl, you can see that at full speed, the correct speed, this middle line of dots here, in fact you can just about see the strobe on the camera, the middle line of the dots there, you can see that they are stationary. But if I move the pitch slider up to +8, you can see that they're all moving now. And then as I bring it down, it shows you where each different piece is. So that is at +4. Then I go -4. You can see the lines above start slowing down. It's just a nice little feature. So let's quickly talk about phono preamps and what they do to the signal. So this is a vinyl running normally, and you can see that there's, well, once it starts, there's quite a lot in the low end. It looks like a normal waveform, I suppose. So now I'm going to unplug the phono preamp and plug it back into the M32 without it. Right. Now the first thing you can see is it's much quieter. And you can also see that there's a huge roll off in all the low end. There's almost nothing down there. And that's because of the way the piezoelectric crystal works. So most of what the phono preamp's doing is boosting loads of the low end and then like bringing the level up to a normal line level input. Also means if you plug a normal CDJ or something into the phono input of a mixer, you'll hear it really like distorted with loads of sub in it, and that's because it's boosting it much louder than it should be and adding loads of the low end. And back to normal. Enough of that. Let's just quickly look at some common problems, and I'll see if I can recreate some. So one of the most common problems you'll see is that the ground isn't connected properly, and then you'll end up with arm. And there's two places the ground cannot be connected. Either in the back of the mixer, over here, wherever this is, and you want to make sure this cable is well attached to something in the mixer. And the other place is in the Tonearm, like those four contacts. If one of them's not connected, you can get a ground hum from there. So it's really important to check those. Something I want to bring up now: DJs, a lot of DJs who have done it for years, will tell you, oh, you know, if it's not working, just lick the contacts. Don't do that. Don't lick my 1210s. It will probably fix the problem, because all you're doing is like adding something conductive for the pins to touch together with, but you end up leaving like gross saliva residue on all of our 1210 tone arms, and that's actually the reason that most of them are broken, is because people just like gob in them and stuff. An actual decent solution is to use like a pencil, and like if you take the tone arm off and just color in these contacts, and maybe you can, even if you get a sharp pencil, just like color in inside there. But please don't lick them, because yeah, you lick this bit and then it gets in there and then it gets the other thing which I quite often see is this arm, this connection here. As I said, you've got to be really careful to make sure it's connected properly, and by that I mean when you think it's together all the way, just like give them both a little like twist and try and tighten this arm more, because this arm is pulling this in. So the more you tighten that, the more it pulls it in. Obviously, don't like yank on it, because these are quite delicate. You can break them, but make sure you give it a good like wiggly twist as you push it in, so you get good contact in there. Yeah, also just to add to that, if you're getting only one side of the 1210, that is quite often also a problem in the neck of the tone arm here, and you have to, again, do the like clean the contacts or colour it in with a pencil or something like that to get it working again. Rarely is it that the actual wires in the back of them are broken, which is what most people jump to instantly. But no, normally it's in the tone arm, so you can fix it just by giving it a bit of a wiggle. But yeah, I'll just take the ground off. Right, so ooh, there is some gross crispy ground, and we're getting ground there from the badly earthed preamp in this, and then also because 1210 just got like a floating ground on it. Quite often you can tell if this ground isn't working, because you can just like make it go away. So yeah, if this end's connected and you're sure that the tone arm's got good connection inside it, and you've tried the pencil trick and all of those other things, the other end of this connects in the back of here, and it could be that. If it's that, I'll fix it, because it will be like damage to the the inner workings. Cool. Just briefly, the last bits to talk about is like the differences between this Mark II and like the Mark Vs and the Mark V-Gs and things like that. So the first thing you'll notice about a Mark V compared to a Mark II is the on-off switch is recessed. So these ones are quite easy to knock on and off, and if you knock them off during playing, they'll just slowly slow down. It's actually a thing. If you press the start-stop button, it will stop. But if you turn it off, it will just slowly spin down. That's how you get that like slow down vinyl effect. It's literally on one of these. But yeah, the on-off button is like silver all the way up, and then the button's recessed in the middle. The next thing that you'll notice is over here, it's got a button. In fact, I think it has two buttons. One of them is a reset button, and that sets the speed back to 0. And the second one below it, it says 816, and what that does is, so instead of being plus and minus 8% speed, you can pitch adjust plus and minus 16%. Some DJs don't like Mark Vs because that is a digital thing. All of the things that this works in complete analog, sound in, sound out, very little touching of the signal goes through the arm, out the back, which is another reason why hardly anything can break, because there's really not much in them. But the Mark Vs have got an extra bit where it's got a circuit board that does plus 8 plus 16. Something that's slightly less noticeable is the arm, the slider doesn't actually have this click in the middle. So this one you can hear it, which is super useful if you're playing a record in your house and you want it to be the speed that the artist intended. But if you're a DJ and you want to get plus 1.1 or something like a tiny amount, it's actually quite difficult to do because it will fall into the 0 well. So they took that out so that it was easier for DJs. I think that's the only other differences. Other than R5Gs, R5s look nicer and cleaner. This one's quite battered and old. And R5G is all like sparkly and silver. And I think the light in here on the 5G is an LED. It's like a blue LED, or that might be the 3D. We've got a few like randoms. So we've got loads of Mark IIs like this. We have 2 Mark Vs, 1 Mark 5G, and 1 Mark 3D, which is just a different type. But yeah, it's got like an LED light in it and stuff. Don't use it unless you absolutely have to. Very last feature. So this well on the top right will always be empty in the Union 1210s because they get lost. But it's actually for a 45 adapter. This is one off a different turntable. It's not actually off this one. But you'll see quite often the little 45s will have the middle punched out from when they've been in jukeboxes and stuff. And this you put on the middle, put the 45 on top of it, and it keeps it square. They should have big aluminium ones. I'm sure I've got one somewhere, but yeah, it sits in there. But yeah, they fall out of ours and people steal them, so they never have them in. Cool, so I hope this hasn't been too rambling and it kind of makes sense to you. Any questions, post them and me or someone in TSC will pick up your answers. Cool, thanks.